Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner football fans podcast. You got Terry and Rob here. Boomer Rob.
Boomer Terry.
And we're coming at you from the beautiful Podcast Palace in the beautiful Norman, Oklahoma. Just remember, everybody, to hit your subscribe button, follow button, like button, whatever button is there.
Provided they like us, of course.
Yeah,
right?
provided. So, but we also got our disclaimer.
We are not affiliated with the University of Oklahoma.
But we do have eligibility left. So, and it's a good thing because we got the man himself here once again. Everybody knows him. He's got his show from 11 to 2, Total Sports on KREF 1400. He has articles on the Football Brainiacs, and he has his Patreon page, Die Hard Sooner Sports Report, or Sooner Report. We got the man himself, James Hill. Boomer, James.
Boomer, Sooner, how you guys doing?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
Man, doing great, and busy time of the year, December. College football puts everything in December, which is really interesting, from signing day, main playoff games, coaches on the road, early signing period now.
Right.
It makes this month just dynamic, and coaches are getting used to it. It's the second year they've done it. Then they kind of get into January, and you can take a deep breath, unless, of course, you're playing in the national championship game. And that's Oklahoma's goal this year, and we'll see what happens. But, it's a really busy time, and they do everything. Don't you know, in that second signing period, when that is done, that's why every staff in America probably takes their 1 week. They go to Cabo, or they go to somewhere, or they do something, because – they're dead by that time emotionally.
So the early signing period, what is that a good thing? Do coaches like it? Do you like it?
Well, I've never liked it. But I think that it serves a purpose, and I do think that I don't like it because it's changed the whammy for the recruiting dates.
Right.
The second Wednesday in February. We were at Balfour, and everybody was there, and there was excitement in the air. This early signing period, it's like it sneaks up on people.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, did they get some guys in the early signing period? Yeah, the majority of the class.
Majority of it, right.
So, we'll be at Balfour next Wednesday, and we'll be there, but it'd be a different deal. Lincoln Riley doesn't go around to radio stations, and it's just a different deal in the early signing period. The coaches like it because who really wants to play for you by that time. Because if they sign, then you've got them. And, what it does for a school like Oklahoma, if somebody didn't sign, maybe they haven't been on that kid, but they'll get on that kid now. And they know who they can go after. And if some of their kids didn't sign early, well, they get another week and a half to preach Oklahoma to them and what's going to happen with Oklahoma in the semifinal game. And and they get to tell everybody about, the back-to-back Heismans again, and they just get to keep recruiting on guys. So in that respect, it's a good thing. It just hurries everything up.
Right.
And, we've had a lot more time to get ready for it this year than last year. So it's been a lot easier, but still that, from a media standpoint, I've never liked it because people just don't take it as seriously. It's taken the whammy away from recruiting day.
Yeah,
and this is the main recruiting day.
Yeah, in February you get to talk football again, and really it's just who's left.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we don't, have a remote set up, and we don't go anywhere else, and so it's an interesting time. It's changed things. It's changed the dynamic of it, that's for sure.
Right. Now, one of the things that we noticed and we've talked about on the podcast was the day after the Big 12 championship game, I had all these coaches, Nick Saban, Dabo, and Kelly, were all at their facilities, kind of celebrating, watching. They weren't all, but they were paying attention to what was going on. And Oklahoma's coach, Lincoln Riley,
was on the road recruiting.
Was on an airplane when he found out we made, the Final Four or the playoffs.
Yeah,
and he has been.
It's got to be good.
He has been running ever since. Is that how all the coaches are out there doing it right now, or did Lincoln save all of his visits into his pocket so he could hit all these kids right after this?
He's got most of them. He's got it. The 1st of December is the first day he can go back out on the road.
Okay.
He likes being back out on the road.
Right.
He digs it. He understands how important recruiting is. He's the new Barry Switzer. And he's the modern day Barry Switzer, and he really loves, to go out and recruit. I thought that was interesting. OU didn't have a watch party. Heck, we found out that Kenneth Murray and some guys were in church.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray was getting a massage. I thought it was great. Kyler didn't know how to tell us that, and I was wanting to tell him, no, we all, that's a good thing, buddy. Matter of fact, who's your masseuse? Is she good? I mean, who do you got? So, the offensive line, they went to lunch.
Yeah.
Forgot about it. And then one guy said, hey, isn't the selection show today? Oh, my God. So they're driving back, and Cody's trying to watch it and driving. And finally he just pulled over and said, why am I driving and watching this? So, I mean, can somebody else, come on, guys, offensive lineman, right? So,
it's funny you said that they all went out to lunch. So.
Yeah.
Offensive lineman. And
that was the most important thing. Hey, you guys want to watch the selection show? No, let's go to lunch. But Lincoln and his staff, they were hitting the road recruiting. So you had Dennis Simmons, you had Cale in the plane, and I think they were going to Texas, right? Yeah. They were going to spend the day down there. And fortunately, they got the news right before they left. But everybody does it differently. I like how Dabo, Sweeney does it. Dabo, he throws a pizza party. He did that when everybody was wondering if Clemson was going to be in. He's kept up the tradition.
Right.
So that's for the team, family, friends, staff, cheerleaders, and everybody that's associated with it. I think that's pretty cool. So there's different ways to go about it. Alabama's so businesslike; they just go about their business day, and that's in a good spot. Maybe someday Alabama won't be so high and mighty, and because things change, things go in cycles.
Right.
In fact, they were talking about when Nick Saban took over the program. Alabama was coming off a terrible stretch. OU had beaten them twice.
Right.
Remember Ronaldo Works and those great plays, and but Alabama wasn't very good, and he basically, brought a breath of fresh air. Some people at Alabama didn't like it. Of course, they like it now.
Oh, yeah, they love it
now.
And
it's Alabama's way. Well, in some ways, Lincoln's doing the same thing, even though, Bob was there 20 years, and some things are very similar to Bob, but he's changed quite a bit, a lot of different things. But one thing he's doing, he loves recruiting, and he loves putting it in his own hands and going out and recruiting. And he understands the social media aspect of it, too. Every place he goes is documented on Twitter and Facebook, and it's out there.
And, and that's one of the things I've always said is I don't think he does that as much for the recruits as he does it to help stir up the fan base, because it gets fans to, when a recruit says, thank you, coach, for the visit today, and there's a picture, there's 400 comments from a fan going, welcome, can't wait to get you here. So it builds up that recruit too, don't you think?
Well, I think it's more to promote the brand.
Yeah.
Every time he goes out, I'm Lincoln Riley. I'm the head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners. And today I am in Compton, California. Tomorrow I am so-and-so, North Carolina. And then that night I'm going to be in Georgia, and I'm going here. Why? Because this is my job. I'm doing the best I can for you. And sure, he's appealing to the fandom, but he's also appealing to every recruit that's out there, everybody that's involved with OU, that the head coach is working. These are the rules that we're within. I mean, Lincoln's appealed to the NCAA that because he's the offensive coordinator too, he wants to be one of the 9 coaches out on the road recruiting. And and I don't know why they would deny him that. That would mean 2 coaches aren't on the road, and he is, but he's going, hey, I'm the offensive coordinator too, and I'd like to be out there. Now he only gets 1 visit with each kid, and once he takes the visit, it's done.
Right.
That's why you don't see any 220 or 220 pictures with great athletes there, because if he spends it now, he won't get it, during their senior year.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, see, and that I think it was yesterday. He was in 3 states. He was in Arizona.
Oklahoma, well, he was Oklahoma, Arizona, and California.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and he spent and. I knew they were going out to see Spencer, and he saved that visit. I thought he might go out to see Spencer last week when he got his All-American jersey.
Yeah.
But Tim Kish was there, and Tim's been recruiting him.
Right.
People don't realize how good of a recruiter Tim Kish is. Tim recruits Arizona. He recruits California. He recruits Houston. And he's a great team recruiter. And he got hammered for a long time in recruiting, and. There's been a couple of positions that Oklahoma struggled recruiting in, but that's beginning to turn. One was linebacker. Now they've gotten some good linebackers, and Perkins is a good one coming in. It's their decision. They've only tried to sign one, unless Brew McCoy came in, and Brew McCoy's not coming in. So, and Brew McCoy wants to play receiver anyway, which is interesting. I think he could be a $30 million pass rushing defensive end, and he wants to play receiver. And he's a 215-pound receiver that's pretty good. That's how athletic he is. But it's just interesting. And so OU doesn't really lie to him. They say, hey, we think you're the next Oboe, and we think you could be a great pass rusher and make lots of money. And his dad wants him to play receiver. So I don't think OU is going to get a shot there. But, Lincoln went out to California and saw the guys that are committed. And then he actually went into Modern Day and John Bosco and talked to the head coaches there, and that's pretty cool. When, Lincoln Riley walks in and says, "Hey, you guys do a great job. It's fantastic what you guys are doing." And I don't know how many high schools he did that at, but he spent some time out there. And Dennis Simmons went to see Pearson at College of the Canyons, and so another coach is eyeballing him now, and they've taken a look at him, and so. I think Oklahoma, he's not going to be he's a second semester guy, but he's as fast as Hollywood.
Jeez.
So you take your time with him and you go get him and you make sure you can do the due diligence. They have to make sure his academics will transfer from junior college. And I wouldn't be surprised if OU didn't sign him late.
Oh, that's good. That's one I hadn't heard of. So, but we got the list, and I got this off ESPN.
You guys aren't really members of Die Hard Sooner Report, then, are you? Because if you were,
okay, I am.
If you were, then you would know about Brandon Pearson.
I am, but remember, I told you about my company. I work in.
Oh, that's right. Your computer. They won't let you work there. A lot of companies do that. I don't understand why those bosses just won't let you guys just spend all day talking sports.
Yeah, they have blocked it. They have now blocked it. Okay, before
really?
I could get on and it would work for a little bit,
man,
and then it would stop, but I could watch it here. But I spend my lunch hour at my desk and I do stuff for the podcast and I read your stuff. I read everybody's stuff.
That's interesting that they block it. That's good. But you know what? I mean, I might have to do that too if I owned a company. Hey, are we gonna sell some widgets? What are we gonna do today?
Yeah. Now the big red screen. If I type in your Patriot, the big red screen. This is blocked by our server. If I thought about clicking the button that says, if you think this is something that could benefit your branch, click here to send a request to IT just to see if I could slip it in there.
That. And they're going to go, Terry, what are you thinking here, buddy?
But Brandon Pearson is a guy that they got in on late. He's from the same school. The coach called them and said, he only has BYU as an offer right now. Hollywood didn't get offers until Oklahoma offered him, then Penn State and other schools got after him. The same thing will happen here.
As soon as a big school.
It's beginning to find out, hey, there's another guy that runs a 4.37, 4.38 40. So.
That's nuts. I can't drive that fast in a 40-yard dash.
It's quick.
And OU has two guys, and Alabama doesn't realize that either. Some of the things Alabama is saying right now, it's interesting, and they have a defense, but this is not one of your stellar Alabama defenses.
Right.
And they haven't faced two guys that can run that fast.
Right.
And so teams have speed, and Oklahoma's got speed elsewhere. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Well, what do we got? 17 commits right now? Mm-hmm. Is that what we've got? And are all of these expected to sign next week? We've got, of course, Spencer Rattler. And I was reading your stuff today, and the highlighted people on this list are the ones that you said will be early enrollees. Yeah, Theo
Weiss is coming in early. Austin Stagner, Trajan Bridges, Finley Felix on the offensive side, Jonathan Perkins, Jamal Morris, and Derek Green on the defensive side. It's a really good class. It's more star-studded on the offensive side. To me, this is always going to be the case at OU.
Oh, yeah.
I think Lincoln would like to change the narrative and make it a star-studded on both sides. He really wants to. It's hard, though, when you're considered the offensive guru and quarterbacks are always the headliners in every class and receivers, and, it's really hard. Whatever he does on the defensive side of the ball, even if he stayed with the guys, he's got to get it to where those guys go out and it's celebrated when they get commits.
Right.
Right now it's offensive guys and we play it up, and the defensive guys were always going, well, he's not. How big is he? Well, it's we kind of debate it, We don't do that with offensive guys, do we?
Right.
We just kind of roll with it, and and it's kind of like we just trust they've got it going. But Theo Weiss, 5-star, Bridges, 5-star, Stagner should be. The receiving class is really interesting, even when you lost R.J. Henderson. If you can add the JUCO kid from College of the Canyons, and you add that speed, as good as everybody is, that's something different that you add just because of the pure speed angle. Same thing when you got Hollywood. Remember, we all complained he's 145 pounds, he's 150 pounds. How is he going to survive? And they went,
He will outrun everybody.
well, he's a football player.
Yeah.
How tough is he proven to be?
Yeah.
And I know he's gotten bigger and bigger, but he takes hits, he blocks, he's a football player. And they just kind of looked at us and said, why are you guys worried about it?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have taken him if we didn't think he could play football.
Right.
And he can play football. So this kid is 171 pounds. He's a little bit thicker, this kid at College of the Canyons, but he hasn't committed yet, and they haven't even offered him yet. They're just going out to see him. Radler is a guy that I've been following since 9th grade. I knew he'd be the number 1 quarterback in the country. The only thing he didn't do is grow to be 6'5", but he's 6'1", and he seems to be perfect at that. The only thing, too, he can't come in early. And I think that hurts him.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you. Is that going to hurt him?
Well, sure. He loses 15 practices. He loses scrimmage time. He loses and the other two get it all.
Right.
OU will have an idea who the quarterback's going to be at that time. Spencer is not playing basketball. He's got a quarterback guru. They'll give him the playbook once he signs.
Right.
And he'll study it. He's a football savant like Lincoln is. So if anybody can make it up, it's him. He'll be there the first day. He's already worked with Weiss, Stagner, and Bridges at the opening.
Right.
And so.
Now, Rob and I were talking beforehand, and you brought up size and everything. Physically, when you see a picture of him, he looks really thin. And he's 173 pounds is what this listed. Is he going to need to be able to put on a little bit of meat before he gets back there?
Well, guys, freshmen are freshmen.
Right.
They come here and they're not as gifted physically as they are when they leave here.
Unless they're Adrian Peterson, right?
Yeah, that's exactly. You have a few. But even Adrian Peterson was a better athlete as a junior than as a freshman.
Oh,
yeah.
Spencer will be a 200-pound quarterback at some point. He'll be, by the time he gets to OU, goes through the summer, he'll be at 180.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of quarterbacks that have played at 180. It's not going to be because he's skinny and that he won't play. It comes down, can he run the offense? Can he get rid of the ball? Can he get rid of it quickly? Can he decipher the information? Can he get through his progressions? Can he do all those things? Austin Kendall, that will be his, third spring? Next spring. Mm-hmm. It's going to be Mordecai's second. And they're just going to be way ahead. Spencer comes out of high school better than both of those guys in pedigree and how they look at it. OU thinks those two guys are really good, and they think they can win titles with those guys. But Spencer's the most celebrated quarterback Lincoln has ever recruited.
Right.
Now, Baker was not celebrated when he came in. Right. Baker ran out of Lubbock, Texas.
Right.
Kyler Murray is the most celebrated quarterback, but not necessarily as a recruit. Kyler, everybody said, well, he's 5'9", 5'10". He did have a number of schools he could go to. There's been other quarterbacks that got played up more than Kyler Murray. Now, Kyler was the number 1 schoolboy, so understand what I'm saying here. Mm-hmm. When it comes to high school legend, there's been nobody better than Kyler Murray.
Right.
But as a recruit, everybody goes, well, is he going to play running back? Is he going to play wide receiver? And, those were the questions about him. So Spencer, though, for the last, when he committed the sophomore year going into his junior year, he's been the number 1 quarterback. Every camp he goes to, he tears it up. At the opening, he had one bad game, apologized to the guys and said it won't happen again, and it didn't.
Wow.
And, he's pretty special.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be interesting. It's not going to be surprising to me if he wins it. It's not going to be surprising to me if Tanner Mordecai wins it.
Right.
He's really good.
I think a lot of the fans, Caleb's not in here. He does a podcast with us, but a lot of the fans are hoping, at least that we talk to, that Spencer comes in and takes it, or Mordecai. They're really, really, really nervous about Austin Kendall, and I'm not quite sure why.
Well, it's because we've seen him a couple of times and he hasn't been spectacular.
Yeah.
You know, we saw Kyler last year. He ran for, 66 yards?
Yeah.
Something like that.
And was shocked he got caught. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's then when he had a few moments the year before, he hits a 70-yard bomb, you know, and he throws it 65 yards in the air to Marquise. He did spectacular things. Heck, when Mordecai got in, he was 2 for 4, but threw a really good ball a couple of times.
Yeah, that was
and
nice.
Austin just hasn't done that as a sophomore, so everybody's kind of down on him. But he pushed Kyler Murray all through the recruiting process. I mean, all through the training camp and almost won the job.
Right.
So that tells you he's got something going.
he's got something
He's
there.
got to have some skills.
Yeah. So
Lincoln wouldn't be.
and I've said it all along too, is I think one of the Lincoln Riley's greatest aspects of what he does is that he fits each guy to the position and coaches to their strengths. You know what I mean? I think regardless of what quarterback we have in there, I think he is going to call plays to the strengths of what that guy does, and he puts
And develop schemes for that quarterback. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, he does. And that's the great thing about the offense. It's the great thing about how Lincoln's designed it. That's why it's a little bit ahead of the game. It's a little bit more of a cut above. You know, he takes advantage of all the great things, including the quarterback's ability to make things happen on his own.
Right.
That's pretty special because that's kind of built into the offense. Sometimes I'm sitting there and I wonder if the play is not, hey, get the snap and run around, and you receivers go and run around until you can get open, and he'll either throw it or run it.
Yeah.
Backyard football.
Sometimes, well, kind of. You know, you wonder if sometimes it's
Yeah.
like
Well, he's
that.
skilled enough to do that. So.
You know,
Yeah.
and we're just fans, and Rob and I, you know, we've watched football our whole life, and you know, we don't ever proclaim to be experts in anything other than being fans. But just to the layman like us, if you watch any playbacks and stuff, there were times that, you know, some of those guys were wide open. There was one where it was Calcaterra just came across. And I even rewound it and played it back slow. That whole play was designed to get everybody's focus off of Calcaterra, and everybody moved one way, and he just kind of pokes out the back, and I'm like, oh my God. And nobody, the guy that was supposed to have him, moved over to wherever, you know, it just kind of moved everybody out of the way, and he popped out there by himself. And it wasn't the only time that happened. If you go back and watch, it looks like everything, when somebody gets that wide open, it looks like that was the design of the play from Lincoln was.
Well, it is the design. It's misconception. That's why you see a Jeremiah Hall running down the field wide open.
Right.
And it's because everybody thought he's blocking, and somehow he's gotten out to the route, and he's running down the field, and the defense is committed not to see him. And because you're chasing CeeDee Lamb and you're chasing Marquise Brown, you know, you don't have time to follow this kid or that guy. So, yeah, and that's why recruits notice this, but more quarterbacks and receivers. Now, the offensive line recruiting is interesting because Bill Bedenbaugh is now become a celebrated offensive line coach. And so when you reach that status, and there's a few of them around, but when you reach that status, that's what offensive line, because offensive linemen would tell you, we don't care who's at quarterback, and we don't care who's at running back. We don't even know sometimes. And so they'll tell you that. So why are they coming to Oklahoma? It's because of Jamal Brown. It's because of Orlando Brown. It's because of guys, you know, sticking in the league. Trent Williams, the number 1 tackle in the league. They see that. They realize guys are going into the league and playing for a long time. And so that's why you get an E.J. Ndoma Ogar to come in from Allen. Now, that kid was coming here. Kyler was going to make sure of it. You know, they know each other really well. You know, but it's been an interesting year in offensive line recruiting. Last year, he got 5 stars in Bray Walker, a 4-star in Darrell Williams. You know, he got more celebrated guys. You know, Marcus Alexander's a 3-star. Stacy Wilkins is a 4-star, but it's, you know, he doesn't have the same, he doesn't come in with the same fanfare that Bray and Darrell did. You know, so, and Finley Felix is a junior college tackle that, you know, again, what Bill's worried about is all the experience is getting ready to leave.
Right.
You know, you've got I mean, he'll tell you that Alex Dalton was invaluable, and Alvarez was invaluable because they're still around. They can still answer questions. They can still help. So the next generation is getting ready to go next year. It's either going to be you're either going to have one, or you're either going to have both tackles, one of them, or none of them. So you could lose 4 starters next year surrounding Creed Humphrey. So he wants somebody in that's played a little ball.
Right.
And that's, and I'm not saying Finley Felix is not good. He is. They lost Myron Cunningham today to Arkansas.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, and I'm not surprised by that. If you're another JUCO and you're going to come in and they already have a JUCO,
yeah,
that's not what you're looking to do as a JUCO. You want to go someplace you can play and you can start. And even though you may think you're great, still, it just doesn't. Why do I have to bang heads with more guys like that? And OU's backups are pretty celebrated players. Yeah. Ely was pretty highly recruited. Mm-hmm. Swinson was at Michigan, and now he's here. And but it's been interesting, the offensive line recruiting. It's typical Bill Bedenbaugh. If he likes them, he gets them, and then nobody's developing players better than him.
Right.
So he's getting them and developing
we
them.
said it the other night. Yeah, we had
country.
Yeah, we had JY on the other night. And that's what we're talking about was the offensive line. And I said somebody needs to take Bill Bedenbaugh's phone and screen all of his calls, give him a raise, and have an escort with him at all times.
24/7.
Yeah, because he needs to stay here, whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm. The only thing that's ever going to get him to move is if he can be a coordinator and make $1 million, or be a head coach, because he can't be those things here.
Right.
And Lincoln, sure, he'll get a pay raise. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Lincoln will do everything he can, maybe even give him a 3-year guaranteed contract or something like that. I mean, that's the only things you can really do for him at this point.
Right.
So anyway, but
is there anybody out there that we're going to be shocked with? Is this commits?
Well, I think Marcus Stripling and Awabu, those two guys, they're going to announce in a few days, and I think OU has a chance to get both. Those are 4-star celebrated players, heavily recruited.
Both defensive players.
Both defensive players. Well, we're done with the offensive guys, so you go to the defensive side of the ball, and I think OU will get both of those guys, and that's going to help. Those are 2 4-stars. Awabu, what OU doesn't have a pass rusher on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know if Ryan Jones could be one. I mean, you're going to have to move somebody, but they've kind of taken the jack out. They put Perkins there. They're not even playing, a couple of guys they were playing early.
Right.
And so, you're sitting there going, the defense has changed. They've gone with Caleb Kelly, and he's playing well.
Yep.
But it's a 4-3 unit, and they haven't really playing a nickel. Not even, when they took Buki out at safety, I thought they'd put him at nickel. So they're still out there recruiting those guys, though. And they're telling Awabu, you come in, we'll beef you up. He's 225. We'll develop you, and you'll be a pass rushing defensive end for us. And we'll stand you up, and you're coming off the edge. They're still looking for those guys. They've got other defensive ends coming, like Marcus Hicks, Corey Roberson. Those two guys are different players. Roberson is a 268, 270-pound player that I hope that can get bigger than that. I think, Bledsoe's biggest problem is that this is about as big as he can get. And they're going to, if they keep him inside, you're always going to have a 280-pound defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you guys. I like it better when they play Famatamahu and Overton in there, right, or Gallimore and from 200-300-pounders in there. But this group, and Derek Green is one of those guys, and he'll be an inside player. I really like Derek Green as a player. Jacksonville, North Carolina, not many recruiting guys go out there to watch games, and he's just not getting notarized. I guess he earned a 4-star, and that's great. For a long time, he was a 3-star. I think he's really talented, man. You watch his film, and he does a lot of good things. So you've got, Corey Roberson, you have Marcus Hicks. If you add Stripling to it and you add Awabu to it, that's a pretty good defensive line.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it's not as big and bold as you want, but, you got to trust that they're going to develop him and get him to play. Well,
and they got the kid from St. Ron that signed last year, just went blank.
Michael Thompson.
Michael Thompson.
Who's coming, back from the ACL tear. Right. And Ron Tatum, he redshirted this year. And so Yeah, they've got guys. Lots of them. I don't know why they played a lot this year. Why did they didn't redshirt him? He'll be a junior already. And it's going to be key what happens with the decisions from the NCAA and the courts. Bledsoe, if he can get another year. And with Overton, if the NCAA will grant him another year.
Right.
That would really help, the defensive line, and we'll see what happens there. Also, they list Wete as a defensive end, but he's another one of those jack linebacker types at 6'4", 220. Now one thing I like about Perkins is he's already a 260-pound guy, and they stand him up sometimes. He's a really good athlete. I think he's going to be a really good player and grow into things. Wete is a fantastic player in not a great high school area, but he is a fantastic athlete, and so that's another guy that you can throw along the line of scrimmage, I think, and or you could play him at Sam linebacker, or you could do some other things with him like that.
But I think that's a big difference that I've noticed in the defensive ends that they've been recruiting is the size. I mean, even like Obo wasn't very tall, But
Redmond and Perkins are
right, and Wete is 6'4", Hicks is 6'6".
Well, Isaiah Thomas, who when he was in, I don't know if you guys saw him run. I think if they'll really work and develop him, he's 6'5".
Right,
he's 251 pounds right now. I figure out a way to next year to play this guy. I mean, it's another guy that you can throw in the defensive line.
That seems to me though that the difference in what they were doing a couple of years ago was bigger guys, but the not as much of a smaller speed rusher like Obo and Stryker and those guys. Not that they were amazing at what they did, but big
more
beefy, traditional type.
I think they're trying to get there. I don't think there's any doubt. That's why Wete kind of surprises you when they list him as a defensive end. Of course, OU's not doing that, but I think he'll be a jack. So we'll see, and we'll see what the future of the jack linebacker is, and if they get new coaches on the defensive side, I say if, who knows, then will they still want to use the jack linebacker? You see a lot of teams do it. Georgia uses I don't know what they call their guy, but that guy that they have standing out there is 258 pounds.
Right.
And that's kind of like what Obo was, and, a bigger guy. Stryker was just a freak. I mean, he was just and everybody's going, well, they only get another striker. Well, they got 30 guys that weigh 220 pounds. I mean, it's like, but Stryker was just a great player. So Jonathan Perkins, a speed guy at linebacker, 6'2", 214, could be a jack, could be could play the Sam or the Will. He's another linebacker type. I don't know if they're going to get another linebacker. I don't think so. They like Draper. They like Asamoah. They've got young linebackers. Now they'll have to sign 3 or 4 next year. Yeah. There's not any doubt about that. And I like their DB class, and it's going to get better. Jamal Morris, people are forgetting about him as a safety, but he's having a banner year. He's going to play in the, I think the Army All-American game. He's a really good player. And Woody Washington at corner, and Jaden Davis. They both had great years,
right.
And both are going to be really, really good players. And if they get Cradell, then that's a pretty good DB class. And if you can add Battle or Chris Steele, that could help as well. I don't think OU will get those guys, but they're still calling them and still recruiting them.
So, how many of these guys? I mean, I think. Of the commits that are going to be an immediate impact, do you think? Spencer could be.
I think the receivers could, because it's a position you could do it. Marcus Major at running back always could, because running back's another position. I don't think the offensive lineman guys will be. Maybe Felix. On the defensive side of the ball, Morris at safety. Maybe Derek Green at defensive tackle. I don't know. How good is Corey Roberson? If he proves to be, then, they can always use pass rushers off the edge. I don't think Perkins will have a great chance. Marcus Hicks, 6'6", 241. How active is he?
Right.
And I don't think it hurts to redshirt those guys. I don't think the corners will play unless they're just great. If they're great and they can beat out, guys that are emerging like Trey Brown and Motley and those guys, okay, then fine. I mean, it's a position that the best will play. I mean, you don't mind playing a freshman because it just comes down to talent, if you've got it or not. So they could play, sure. Really OU's only 2 deep at corner. So, you bring in these 2 guys, and and all of a sudden, you can be 3 deep at least for one more year, and depending on what you get in the next class.
Okay, let's move on to the Orange Bowl. So we got mighty Alabama. Well, before we go into that, I just remembered defensive coordinator is Ruffin.
Well,
is this his job to lose, or is he truly just being the sitting in the seat for right now?
Everybody's trying to find out what the elephant in the room is.
Right.
And yet Lincoln and his staff, the entire staff's out there recruiting. And if I talk to I talk to coaches all the time. They don't act like they're losing their jobs.
Yeah.
And they don't think they're losing their jobs. Do I ask them point blank, hey, you getting fired? No, I probably don't ask that question. But I listen, and I'm watching, and I'm seeing everything that's going on. Do I believe it's a great opportunity? It would be a great time for Lincoln to hire a DC and bring in somebody that's his own culture. And sure, I do. But Lincoln does things a little bit differently, and he's in the Final Four playing games this way. And so this is what he's going with. Now, as soon as they lose, whether that's this game, next game, or they win it all, that's when he'll sit down and say, what do I have to do?
Right.
Then who's available? And then who's out there? Everybody's talked about Golding at Alabama. The fact that OU's playing Alabama, that just screws everything up there.
Yeah.
You can't sit there and game plan how to beat somebody and then, be talking to him at the same time. Hey, secretly, are you going to be my defensive coordinator? You don't think Nick Saban knows that Oklahoma's talking to him? You don't think Nick Saban's had that little little conversation with him? Hey, are you focused on us or what are you doing?
Right.
Because he's already lost his offensive coordinator and Nick is used to this. And tell you the truth, Nick excels in the chaos of changing in his program.
Right.
We'll see if Lincoln does. Lincoln, to me, likes status quo. He likes to keep things going. So, Grinch at Ohio State, I've been covering the same guys a lot of other people have. Grinch's family, everybody's from Ohio. He'd rather stay there, but he wants to be the defensive coordinator.
Right.
Does Pat Day, does he want, is it Ryan Day? Whatever the coach at new coach at Ohio State. Everybody feels like the first report was he and Sherrano didn't get along. Now they get along peachy. I don't know, but I think they hired Day to keep all that staff together. That doesn't mean though that Grinch won't want to run his own program. He will. And I think he would be more of a guy that OU would have a better chance to get at this particular point. But
I'm with you in everything that I've seen, and believe me, we're not don't have nearly the experience you do in dealing with those guys. But Lincoln seems to be one to me that we go to his coach's show out there at Rudy's, and he just doesn't seem like he's a BSer. You know what I mean? He just kind of I know there's coach speak, but I truly don't think he may have put feelers out for defensive coordinators, but his deal right now is this is what we got, this is what we're coaching with, and this is where we're going, right now. So when we're done, whether, like you said, whether we win it all, lose, wherever, that's when he's going to sit down and evaluate and go, hey, this is what I need to do. This is the direction I think the Mike Stoops situation was way out of his comfort zone of how he likes to deal with things.
Without question. And of course, I don't know. Lincoln doesn't care what we say about the defensive coordinator thing. And of course, you've got various media talking about this guy, that guy, this guy. I work a little bit differently. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the best or anything like that. I just, when people were saying it's definitely Golden, 5 days ago, I was going, really? Well, where is he?
Yeah.
All the spottings
of him.
Well, everybody now, on Twitter, they're beginning to follow this guy or that guy. Oh, well, that's great. And, Carl Scott was supposed to be coming here, right? Well, Carl Scott just got Dax Hill to flip and Jeremy Carter to flip,
right.
or Jeffrey Carter. I'm just going, really? Okay, well, he's leaving it for the next guy, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's an interesting deal. I just think the timing, it's more important to win the game. It's more important to, because here's Lincoln. I promise you, Lincoln's thinking this way. The worst thing that can happen is that everybody comes back, everybody's a year older, everybody gets better, everybody gets more settled in. We get more of a concept and we roll with it. Now, would that be sexy for everybody? Would everybody be upset with that? Maybe, but not if you win the national title,
right.
or not if you're in the final, and not if you have a dynamic game. However this ends up, I do think he's got a rare opportunity that a young coach his age, early in his career, can go out and find him on the defensive side of the ball, whoever that is.
Right.
And that's what I would do if I'm him.
Yeah.
I go find Lincoln Riley on that side of the ball. But I'm going to tell everybody again, right now, he's got the best savant he knows on the defensive side of the ball, already calling it in Ruffin McNeil. That's the best defensive coach he knows.
Right.
That doesn't mean he won't find another one. Doesn't mean he won't find five. And so I try to keep things in real time. Right now, Golden's been told by Nick Saban, hey, we got a game to win here. I got my offensive coordinator screwing around. You're going to be my DC someday. Don't screw this up, man.
Right.
Because, you can become a head coach here too, and we're going to pay you lots of money. Your family, do you want to uproot him again? So he's already hitting him with that. Grinch is a little bit of a different deal in that, he was at Washington State, did a good job out there. He's kind of used to this kind of football. He's not calling plays, but he really likes it at Ohio State. The whole family's from Ohio.
Right.
But boy, to get a chance to call at Oklahoma. That's why I've been saying kind of throughout this process, I think that's a little more of an opportunity. And plus, it doesn't have to be tomorrow.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't have to be. That can happen whenever it's going to happen. And that's a little bit of a different deal than Alabama that's trying to win a national title.
Right. Well, see, and James, you did it again just like you did the first time. You said the exact same thing that me and Rob have been saying, about Lincoln finding a
dynamic,
a him on the defense. You just said it a lot better than we did. Yeah, I mean that's been our thought all along since the deal is if he finds that young dynamic guy, even half as dynamic is because our defense doesn't have to be superbly dynamic. It just has to be really, really adequate.
Right.
With this offense.
It's interesting, the Big 12, it swallows up defensive coaches and spits them out. Mike Stoops is a really good defensive coordinator. Don't be surprised if he doesn't surface somewhere else and all of a sudden his defense in the top 12.
Right.
How about Diaz down at Texas? Fired in mid-season, and he was the most celebrated defensive coordinator coming in, right? Todd Orlando right now has never given up points like this. There's another coach but anyway, these coaches come in. So that's one of the factors when you're out there talking to defensive coaches. They want some kind of guarantee. They want, hey, look, this is a different animal. And they know it. They see it. They understand it. That's why Alabama acting like, we're going to shut down Oklahoma. We didn't shut them down with Trevor Knight.
Exactly.
I mean, and the Colton Bester and guys like that. I mean, OU's a little better on offense right now.
A little bit.
And so Alabama's defense was better then.
Right.
So it's an interesting deal. But again, I wish I could tell you exactly what Lincoln's going to do. But tell you the truth, the cards are still playing. The dominoes are still getting thrown out there. Everything's still in place, and it's such guesswork. And yet he's sitting there and all he's doing is recruiting. He just got back from New York. He's trying to win this game on the 29th. This is his staff on the 29th. And he's going into this. He's not going to do anything to have them thinking about something else or doing anything else. And that hacks off a lot of people. It doesn't get many clicks for you. It doesn't do, but that's the way it is. Yeah. And after the 29th, let's hope we don't, but let's say Oklahoma loses. Then he'll sit back and say, what do I got to do and who's out there? But if somebody's not out there that he doesn't feel is the guy to really lead his program, I don't think he's going to do it.
He's not going to do it.
Yeah, if it's not an upgrade, why would you?
Right.
And everybody thinks, people that are around the program, when I bring this up, I'm not crazy for saying what I'm saying. But if he can find a guy that he thinks is him, that will take over the defense and run it. It won't be like a Mike Leach and Ruffin McNeil back in the day at Tech when you'd ask Mike a question, he'd say call Ruffin, and on media day gave me his number. So I'm calling Ruffin McNeil in Big 12 media days going, hey, Coach McNeil, yeah, who's this? I said, James Hale, okay, ref. Coach Leach just told me to call you so I can talk some defense. And he just started laughing. He said, okay. So, anyway, so it won't ever be that.
Yeah.
Lincoln likes defense. He pokes his head in there. And this is why when they make plays, he's playing it up. He loves it. He realizes it's been weird and it's been not so good. But they're in the college football playoff doing what they're doing. So,
and the last two games, the defense has done what they needed to do to win the games. 2 turnovers against West Virginia, and scores. The safety turned that game. I mean, I'm sure every fan was just like me and Rob sitting there when CD fumbled that ball. Is they're fixing to drive 92 yards.
What a call by Ruffin on the safety and
yeah.
Here's the thing too. Seth Luttrell didn't get the Kansas State job because he wanted his entire staff to go. All right, bold move by Seth.
Yeah,
but he didn't want to go with the same mentality that they had at Kansas State. He wanted to bring in his new mentality, and he thought it was important. All right. Lincoln's sitting here, and he's got a staff that's recruiting a top 10 class. And the defense, whether we want to admit it or not, it's getting a little better. It's getting better. He really thinks it's going to play its best games in the next 2 games. And yet, everybody's got him on the phone, back door, talking to all these coaches, and yet he's going to play one of them. That's not how he works.
Yeah.
Right.
So Alabama, what are the keys to Alabama? Now, our keys are as we looked at it, again from the fan standpoint, is we're just going to have to outscore Alabama. I mean that seems simple. That's what you got to do in every game. But
this is the most complete Alabama team,
right?
That I mean, Tua has changed Alabama. Mm-hmm. He's made them a modern day offensive team with. And Alabama always has great receivers. The 2 best receivers in the NFL are probably from Alabama right now.
Jerry Jeudy is.
He's something else, isn't he?
Yeah.
And Waddle is a true freshman that OU tried to recruit, and he's probably going to be the freshman offensive player of the year. I mean, he's great.
Yeah.
So they've got players just like OU does, and they've got a better defense than OU does. This is when I say this is interesting. Because Kyler Murray is the equalizer in every game OU plays. I just watched OU get pounded by Oklahoma State in wrestling, and Oklahoma's got a pretty good wrestling team. But you can be pretty good in wrestling, but if you're wrestling a guy that's better than you and he beats you 8-2, your team doesn't get the points.
Right.
So here you are in the same kind of situation that you're in that you've got Kyler Murray, who is so good that what I'm hoping is that he gets the defense at Alabama in such a confused state that all of a sudden they don't play. The same thing that happened 2 years ago when Trevor Knight started running around and Sterling started making plays, and not 2 years ago, a few years ago. Yeah. And Bester started, acting like he was, Jerry Rice, and started making all these plays. I mean, so that's what I'm hoping that that happens in this game. Will the defense play better? I don't know. I'm not counting on it.
Right.
I mean, you're not counting on it. Our special teams are better than theirs.
Yeah.
So hopefully
there's an up. I mean,
the defense has been trending up.
Hopefully Seibert, kicks the ball to the point, changes field possession. I mean, there's ways Oklahoma can win this way. Here's what we know. OU has a formula for winning the game. Tua's not 100%. Can they beat us with Hurts? I don't know. Can they beat Oklahoma running the running game? It's really, really good. The matchups and the down lines are incredible in this game.
Right.
Can the defense make a stand? Will they get Alabama to pump 3 or 4 times? Those things have to happen. Alabama has 4 guys on the All-American teams for a reason. They've got NFL players all over the place. Nobody's recruiting better than them. Nobody has a better program than them. I hate to say this way, but Alabama's where Oklahoma wants to get in the current state of college football. Absolutely. And Oklahoma's really close. Right. Oklahoma's one of the top 3 teams, currently 4 teams in college football today. Sure. Now, I'm not talking about blue blood status because Oklahoma's always a blue blood. I'm talking about today's game. Oklahoma is among the top 3 or 4. Right. Writers are writing about the games getting stale because it's always Alabama, Clemson, and Oklahoma in the Final Four. Well, right. Okay, that's where Oklahoma's at. They're ahead of Notre Dame. They're ahead of Georgia. They're ahead of Southern Cal. They're ahead of everybody else. But they've got to climb this mountain, and they can do it in this game. You win this game all of a sudden, that's a different deal. And, yeah, they can win it because they have a formula for win it. And Tua's not going to like this. Alabama's not going to like this. Oklahoma's the best player in Kyler Murray.
Oh, yeah.
So, can he will Oklahoma's to victory in this game? I don't know. We're going to find out.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the big keys is, and David Pollock said it on ESPN the other day, is what's going to be a shell shock for Alabama is the pace of Oklahoma's offense. It's
pace and the speed.
And the speed. He goes, it's going to be bam, bam, bam. And he goes, Georgia, and that's where he played, and he knows people in Georgia. He said that's what caught Georgia off guard. It was like, holy cow.
And that's why we all wonder why Lincoln took his foot off the pedal. He regrets it now. Right. And why he took the ball out of Baker's hands. He's not going to do that again. Yeah. The ball's going to be in Kyler's hands. I don't care if Sermon has 280 yards. Right. He'll give the ball to Sermon, but he's going to touch it first. And, he's going to, and I think they're going to do that. So I think it's going to be a wild game. The 14-point spread, I would take that. I'd bet Oklahoma. It's just going to be a closer game of that. Yeah. I would be shocked if Oklahoma blows them out or if they blow Oklahoma out. I think it's going to be one of those games that whoever gets the ball last, the other team's going to be going, oh, man. So it's going to kind of be one of those things. But this is a great challenge for OU because they're not better than Alabama on defense. Alabama has more NFL players and talent. Alabama, but, OU, and Lincoln's really great at this. He's great at walking into that room and go, I got the game plan. Yeah. I know how we're going to beat them. They put their pants on just like we do, and we're going to go play. And that's what he'll tell them.
Yeah, and that, again, that's what his mind and the way he thinks and the way I have no problems. I don't think, Rob, you do either, that knowing that we're going to score points on Alabama, and Alabama's probably going to score points on us. I'm in the group of people that think it's going to come down to who has the ball last. And, if we're up by 3 points or up by 2 points or up by a point, I hope Alabama has the ball last because their biggest issue is their field goal kicker. And we were talking earlier in the year about what people across, there was a deal that came out on Sports Illustrated and we just kind of covered what everybody was griping about at each team. Oklahoma was defense, all these programs that are out there, and Alabama's fans were complaining about their place kicker and their kickoff guy. He doesn't kick it deep enough, and they're missing field goals. I was like, man, that's a hard problem to have. But when you come to a game like Oklahoma, it's going to be a big problem because
we hope it is.
Yeah, we hope it is. It can be a big problem if it comes down to, like we said, the last possession of the game. If they don't have, I think we're all. Even though he missed one against Army.
OU's got a big edge in the kicking game.
Kicking game. It's going to be – I'm confident if we have the ball last and it's a tie game or down by 3. Because Kyler could turn around and just end up running, like he did against Texas, 65 yards. And
home run threat on every play.
Yeah, and nobody touch him. But – Rob, you got anything that you want?
I'm just curious on, and I don't know if you want to share it or not, but do you think we're going to beat Alabama?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
But
it makes me feel better because I've been really uneasy about this game. I got to be honest.
Well, I mean, everybody is. OU's not favored. They're a huge underdog, but I just don't bet against Lincoln. I don't bet against them. I didn't think they were going to lose against Texas either. I was shocked, and I was, but. I was the only guy that I think picked Oklahoma back, in the Sugar Bowl. And and hey, my constituency doesn't expect me to pick against Oklahoma.
Right.
But I just really believe Lincoln will figure out a way to win the game, and Kyler Murray can execute it. He's cool, calm, collective, and he'll figure it out.
Yeah. Only thing I got in trouble about this year was the first OU Texas game. I guaranteed that Oklahoma would win it, and I've been told I can't do that anymore. Right. So those words never. But I'm with you. I think Oklahoma has a better chance than what the national media, is saying. And what Feinbaum today.
It would take a national media guy with a lot of guts to pick Oklahoma to win the game.
Yeah.
We're local. We can look at it a little bit differently. Most local people will pick Alabama to win the game. It's just.
But I think a lot of those.
I think it'd be more fun to pick the upset and see if you can get it.
But I think like Herb Street, I think he's just itching to call this game because I think he thinks this is going to be one of the most epic games he's ever got to call. And
offensive games are fun.
Yeah.
And can the defense rise up and make a play?
Yeah, make a play.
And Kyler's been able to make good defensive players look bad, and so is Lincoln. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Rob, you got anything else for him?
That's it. It's always great stuff, James.
Thanks, appreciate
it. James, here's how important this night was to us. James let us know that, he could do it a little bit earlier, and so we postponed dinner. And you can tell by looking at us,
right.
We don't postpone or miss very many dinners.
Well, I've got to go to dinner, so we'll all eat at the same time.
But we appreciate you taking the time out again.
Well, you're welcome.
You guys can catch him at 11 to 2 on Total Sports on Sports Talk 1400 KREF.
The ref.
The Football Brainiacs. He has his articles in there. Always good reading along with everybody else. The only one that's maybe closest to you on that, in my opinion, is Jason. I love that guy.
Yeah, I do too.
JY.
Well, if you want to know about inside play and you want to know what's going on, I haven't seen anybody better at articulating it.
Oh yeah,
and he does a great job.
He does a great job.
I love the buckets.
Yeah, the bucket.
I think that's really a great touch. It really is. I like what the Brainiacs do and how they do it.
Yeah, and then of course your Patreon Die Hard Sooner Sports Report. Everybody go check that out. It's tell them how it works.
4 or 5 podcasts a day, and it's 2 or 3 minutes. And I've had several people that are business people that tell me, hey, this really fits what I'm doing. I dial it up in the car as I'm driving from one appointment to the next. I listen to it. One guy joked, I don't have to see your ugly mug. I'm just listening to it, and I'm going, yeah, I got you. I thought about getting a beautiful girl to do it, and putting her in a sexy top and say, hey, just go read this report, and I bet you I get guys to stop and listen. So anyway, but it fits everybody's lifestyle. I think I had a friend that was vacationing in New York, and he was listening to him as he was walking around. He had his earpods, I'm sorry, and he was listening to it that way. And sure, that's the way to do it. I mean, it's, it's 3, 4, 5 podcasts a day. I know people do podcasts, some people do one a day. But I'm really covering the team. That's what I'm putting out there is team news, what we're doing. And I give commentaries on several different things too, but that's how we do it. And, I think it's catching on a little bit, not as fast as I want it to be, but if people will try it, I think they'll find it pretty interesting. Right,
and the easiest way is to just Google it.
Google James HALE Die Hard Sooner Report,
right,
or Patreon Die Hard Sooner Report, and then when you go to the site, there's a little toggle, there's a little orange, what I call a toggle switcher. You just click it on it, and that tells you you got to give a donation. And the $5 tier gets you to all the Sooner stuff. It's $5 a month.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. And, so then you get on it. So you just go on, click on it, then you go through the process of joining the site.
Right. And which I have joined it. It's just very difficult now for me to do it since they blocked it completely.
Yeah.
So
you have to use your iPhone.
Yeah, that's enough. They blocked those. I'm in healthcare. So, we've got like 4 different blocks. Our Wi-Fi, for me to get Wi-Fi, on my phone, I have to have.
So when you get home at 6, you can dial it. You just have to dial it.
I'm doing this at 6 o'clock.
Well, not every night.
But James, it's great. We appreciate you, coming in here and talking with us. I know that our listeners across, the board, our good buddy Jim, he always looks forward to, when you come on and listening to us. But there's other folks out there. Just like we've got people all over the country that some of it, this is all they listen to, which is scary to get their OU stuff, but they love it. And we appreciate you, because we know that you are swamped.
No problem, man.
And
appreciate it, guys.
We appreciate it. But that's the podcast for this week, guys. We will be dropping stuff out on Twitter on Sunday as to who and what we're doing on Sunday night for Monday's podcast. But we appreciate you listening. Boomer Rob.
Boomer Jerry.
Boomer James.
Boomer Soon.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans Podcast. Hit the subscribe button right now on whatever app you're listening to download every episode as they come out. Check us out on Twitter and Facebook and on YouTube. Boomer Sooner.